Good afternoon in New York, North America's and Canada's East Coast, and Haiti. Good morning in Mountain Time and in California. Good evening in Benin, the rest of Africa in Europe, and welcome whatever time of day or night for those of you who are joining us from all corners of the world. I'm Yael Danieli, founder and executive director of the International Center for Multi-Generational Legacies of Trauma, ICMGLT for short. Thank you for joining our very exciting webinar, Bwa Kayiman, the Spirit of Freedom and Liberation in Arts and Culture. This International Center for Multi-Generational Legacies of Trauma webinar is held on August 14th to commemorate the 1791 Bwa Kayiman, the ceremony that inspired the Haitian Revolution, the liberation of Black slaves from their white masters, and the creation of Haiti as the first Black republic in the world. International panelists explore the spirit of Vodoun in the arts in Haiti and Africa, both in the past and in the present. This webinar would not have happened without the consistent work of the ICMGLT's Haiti Working Group, ably co-chaired by Madame Monette Metienne Donnet-Caten and Dr. Marie Lemy, and the blessed guidance of Emeritus Professor Leslie Demanglais. For interpretation, please, as you see in the chat, click the three dots in the bottom right, find interpretation, and click on your choice of English, Haitian Creole, or French. We are still working on the French, so please be patient with us. We don't want to keep waiting or to keep you waiting. Your moderator, I am a clinical psychologist, traumatologist, victimologist, and psychohistorian. I have devoted much of my career to studying, treating, writing about, and preventing lifelong and multi-generational impacts of massive trauma, to ensuring victims' rights, to the rights of future generations, and to reparative justice. My concept of psychohistory views history not only as a series of dates and events, but as we live it, as it is lived by us today, every day, shaping and guiding the meanings of our lives. Today's first speaker is His Majesty Daagbo AVIMADJÉNON, AHOUANDJINOU, KPLEDOMAGBOLOKO. Hereditary high dignity. Thank you for your tolerance. Hereditary high dignitary Vodoun, great Priest of Vodou in Quidah, Republic of Benin-formerly Dahomey. He presides over Association of Family Collectivities, Communities, and Dependencies. Yes. His Majesty's contribution to preserving and transmitting Vodoun tradition is legendary. He participated in scholarly projects in Africa and Latin America, as in the documentaries Atlantico, Negro, Sur la Route Orixás, Pedra da Memoria, and Pedra da Memoria. As chief religious practitioner-leader, he crowned many chiefs and established cultural bridges between Benin and the global African diaspora. Our second speaker is Her Royal Highness Queen Mother of the African Diaspora, Benin Republic. Her Royal Highness is the founder of the
Majesty.
Imperial Corp, AHOUANDJINOU, of the African Diaspora, a leadership program for women of African descent. Mbwa Kayiman, Queen Mother, was fellow of the Interfaith Civic Leadership Academy. She serves on the board of directors of the Organization of Religious and Traditional Intellectuals, Benin-formerly Dahomey, Center for Dharma Practice and the Advisory Council of the God Box Foundation, and is the Caribbean Cultural Center Diaspora Institute 2024 Scholar in Residence. Third is William Leslie Balan Gobert. We call him Leslie II. A native of Haiti, Leslie II is a Haitian history and society scholar in residence and lecturer at the University of Chicago. With extensive studies in Haiti, France, and the United States, he focuses on and explores Haitian Vodoun as both cultural memory and ethical life. Through numerous lectures and writings, Leslie has significantly contributed to the understanding and appreciation of Haitian Vodoun and its profound impact on societal and cultural dynamics. Our fourth speaker is Kendrick Desmevar. Dr. Desmevar holds a PhD in ethnology and heritage from Laval University, an MA in history, memory, and heritage from the State University of Haiti, and a BA in social sciences from the École Normale Supérieure. A researcher and lecturer at Studies and Research Institute in Social Sciences and the coordinator of the UNESCO Chair in History and Heritage of the State University of Haiti, Kendrick has dedicated his career to studying and promoting Haiti's culture, heritage, including its tangible and intangible aspects. Last but definitely not least is Leslie Demanglais, or our Leslie I. Leslie I is an anthropologist of religion who studied the religions of Africa and the Caribbean. He is Professor Emeritus of Religious Studies at Trinity College in Hartford, Connecticut. He was first president of the Haitian Studies Association and founder of the Journal of Haitian Studies. He has published widely, including his award-winning book, The Faces of the Gods, Voodoo and Roman Catholicism in Haiti. We have 2 hours for the webinar. Each of our panelists will speak for about 10 minutes. Following an interchange among us, I will open the floor to questions or brief comments from the virtual audience, you. We will then conclude with last words. Please use the chat or question functions, and we'll do our best to respond to as many as we can. Feel free to direct your question to a particular panelist or to the full panel, which you see is extremely rich. I now have the pleasure and the great honor to offer the screen to our first speaker, His Majesty Daagbo. Your Majesty, the screen is yours.
Ok, d'accord.
Merci pour votre rôle. Je salue tout le monde.
I greet everybody.
I
will speak in my native language form. I greet you from all over the world, or the continent. I would like that this webinar will be a start for a continuation that in the family, in the culture, the religion, everybody will have a benefit.
Oh, mi déléguant, mi gando mi Dahomey hoko Benin, wendo mi ton, système mi ton, Vodoun yawe, Vodoun mi ton, Daagbo weni.
In Benin, in the former Dahomey, the religion Vodou, the spirit Vodoun that called Vodoun Yahweh is our religion, and it brings us safety, happiness, and wealthness. Our religion Vodou save us in the dangerous situation. When somebody wanted to go somewhere or want to start an enterprise, he can ask for Vodoun to favorite his entrepreneurship. And when there is a danger somewhere, Vodoun can save somebody from the danger. Vodoun is not magic.
Vodoun
Vodoun save us from magic. It save us from sorcery also. If you are in need of something good, when you ask Vodoun, Vodoun gives you that good you are asking. Vodoun are different. They are Vodoun from family, they are Vodoun from collectivity, and they are Vodoun for all the country and all the city. Our ancestor has prayed Vodoun, and they were rich and they have everything they want through Vodoun. Vodoun is against war. Is on the behalf of Vodoun. We don't have war in our country. Vodoun doesn't want to betray somebody and to cheat somebody also, to cheat his neighbor, his brother, or his sister. Vodoun acts on the rightness, the righteous, the rightness.
Vodoun miton de nous wa bono bulo mais sou mina pombo mina sero wenu ko ejen wa zon bo ezei togudo mi pon to miton haitinion Vodoun miton ewe son bo Haiti pendant des décennies, pendant des siècles. Vodoun miton ewe roulen to vile si.
Okay. Okay. For example, Vodoun is our ancestral religion, and our brothers and sisters that were forced to the Caribbean, for example, Haiti, take Vodoun with them, the spirit of Voodoo with them, and that is Voodoo who saved them from slavery, and they start the first liberate country, in the black liberate country in the world. When you ask or you call your Voodoo, the spirit of Voodoo, anywhere in the world, he will answer you. If you are in the danger and a situation, dangerous situation, if you praise or you call your Voodoo, he will respond to you. He will answer you.
Mais miton no vi miton go si fi ya ti le Vodoun ye we e we ye kan bo kan ho Vodoun we jon Vodoun we na we zizaye we to guro kolon abi.
For example, our brother, our ancestor in Haiti, when they were in danger, they praised Voodoo, and Voodoo helped them to get their liberation under the French army. For example, Bookman, he praised the spirit of Voodoo. At that time, when they were in a very great danger,
Bwa Kayiman
for example, the ceremony of Bwa Kayiman, when they praised Voodoo, the spirit of Voodoo, Voodoo came and give them force, encourage them, and help them to overcome the fighter. If we want to see the story in the history, Voodoo has done very good, very well, amazing good, and we cannot situate all of them. We cannot citate all of them. Voodoo free our people. He's asking whether he already passed the 10 minutes.
He has 2 more minutes.
Vous avez encore 2 minutes.
Oh,
Vodoun système.
Vodoun système de bon, mais de la dion, when mi wa, beaucoup de wo, Vodoun wa mi hona we, nde, étape par étape, Vodoun we.
Okay, Voodoo is a religion, and we came in this earth and we have seen Voodoo from our forefather, and Voodoo, he saved us in many situations, and he did us very good things.
Vodoun rassembleur.
Voodoo is a spirit that take people together. Voodoo is a spirit that for tolerance, that tolerates everybody. Anything, any enterprise you want to start, when you call the spirit of Voodoo, he will open the way, he will open the door for you and give you what you want. Okay, I thank you, everybody.
Oh,
he's addressing to the Royal Majesty Queen Mother. He said that he used to see her in Quidah sometimes before. Okay.
Oui, Dachele. Oh.
Voodoo will save you. He will give you benediction. Also.
Oui, c'est pour Guinée au Benin. Okay.
Okay. Benediction to all of you.
Thank you so much, Your Majesty. And because you have already introduced and waived Her Royal Majesty, please, the screen is yours. We're looking
Thank
forward
you.
to comments.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very much.
Well, I want to say first, honneur, and I think you know the response is respect. Thank you to the ICMGLT and to Dr. Marie Lemmy in particular for this kind invitation. I say Ayibobo to fellow panelists. And again, I bring greetings to Daagbo, AVIMADJÉNON, Sa Majesty, and we're very happy to see him again. I have asked that 4 images be displayed.
Here we
Can
are.
they be pulled up? Okay.
Yeah, we already.
Great. I've been spending about 20 years documenting the spaces of that the Loire, the Orisha, that the Vodou have opened to me. And so I wanted to share 4 images that represent Legba's path. The first one is Legba's path of earth in the route to no return in Nigeria, in Badagry. The next one is Legba's path of fire. This is at the Citadelle, La Ferrière in Haiti. The third image is Legba's path of air. And this is a road created by the Black loyalists, the Africans who fought against the British and went to Nova Scotia. And the last image is in France, in Nantes, Legba's path of water. So we can take the images down. Thank you. I wanted to share these images because they represent how Vodou has shaped how I move through the world and my work as a photographer and a scholar documenting and interpreting our experiences as enslaved and liberated peoples in the built and natural environments. The Priya Guinea, which I will address later, connects dots in our stories, which in turn inspired or perhaps instructed me to connect dots for us. Vodou is the science of aligning what is sacred within us with what is sacred outside of ourselves. It is an eco-theological system of thought and being that initiates us in processes of working with spirit to maintain balance and equilibrium within the self. And the self consists of 3 components. There's the ancestral self. You can think of the past and our forebears and their experiences. There is the cumulative self, that aspect of our singular, unique contemporaneous existence, the culmination of all those who came before us, whose essence defines who we are here and now, as well as the environmental influences that impact our person. And then there is the prophetic self, the self that we are evolving into, the foretold circumstances that we must confront, and the persons yet unborn whom we shall influence by virtue of our experiences. In other words, our moon or moonness, right? These elements are marés. They are tied or secured to our collective existence, to our collective memory, to our engagements with one another in this plane and in the natural world. As Vodouisan and Vodouci operating within this space, we are expected to sceller, or to be the haché, become the ultimate manifestation of the Loire, of the Vodou that is within us, that is within me and in you. Vodou is also at its base a summary or an abstract of the sciences: agronomy, astronomy, biology, botany, chemistry, economy, philosophy, psychology, just to name a few. And these elements are effectively presented in the visual poetry, the cosmograms that are called Veve, and present in dance and song, and in practice or connaissance of Vodou. In the spaces of great suffering, the Ma'afa, in the times of severe, divine and human transgression and humiliation, Vodou is a platform for galvanizing power, which sets in motion the mechanisms for enlarging, for valorizing the unsung, unhinged, and unmet search for peace, the search for justice. Because Vodou is about that search for peace. Daagbo just told us that Vodou is against war, it is against betrayal. So we are searching for peace. And so these are fundamental spiritual truths that are tied to the military convening that shaped the culminating events that we refer to as Bwa Kayiman. And within the context of this conversation, I argue that Vodou is a complex mnemonic device, an Afro-mnemonic device, a system of recollection that defines and reclaims space by building bridges of memory in concert with rituals that are secular and profane, to actualize our moonness, our moon, okay? Vodou uses rituals as a springboard for activating the imagination and radicalizing thought, facilitating both personal spiritual growth and social change. And it is in this sense that the ceremony and Congress of Bwa Kayiman, Vodou used its power to establish a Pan-African agenda and ultimately serves as an instrument to reinstantiate Black humanity. And while we can argue about the particulars of Bwa Kayiman, it would be hard to state that it didn't have an impact on the Priya Djo and the Priya Guinée, the two sacred missives of Vodou. And together, these powerful prayers are a litany, a soliloquy, a cartographic chorus that names names and places in its verses. It is a call and response of African metaphysics, of mnemonics, of our storic, not his storic, our storic, is a tour de force. Its energy is a retort to the scourge of Afrophobia and the racially based genocide that was enslavement. It is a rebuttal to the savage discourse of domination that was the Code Noir. I often think of those two prayers, and the Priya Guinée in particular, in conjunction with the Bizango, the Champwell, the Petro rites of Vodou, as the Code Noir. Not the Black codes or le Code Noir, but the Code Noir. You comprends moi? In that epoch of human history, our Afro-Haitian codes of ethics, of codified assignations and recommitment to our personhood as a legal, philosophical, and social matter that we reignited, not only during the Bwa Kayiman, but this code continued throughout the renewed threats of European occupation and threats for re-enslavement of revolutionized and free Africans, the peuple haïtien, of the Nègre, judicially recognized by the Emperor Jean-Jacques Dessalines and the 1805 Constitution of the Empire of Haiti. I remind you, we were not founded as a republic, but an empire. This idea continued fervently under the abusive occupation of US Marines within our homelands. And this Code Noir, as I refer to it, continues to inform the radical imagination of armed and unarmed persons who seek an Haiti freed of the ongoing meddling and sanctioning of our nation by the predatory members of the international community and their wealthy, homegrown agents of chaos. Those persons whose quest for power remain indifferent to Haitian principles of conviviality, of vivre ensemble, people whose divisive ways has always been entangled in our roots and remain so some 233 years later. In the Quidah, I want to recall the words, Figi ma pouyo, yo tout fin pelio, zentrai dantio, sous loyo secheo. And those of you who know the rest. These words, Figi ma pouyo, yo tout fin peli, zentrai danti, sous loyo seche. This is as much a prophetic revelation, divination, as it is an inventory of ecological and therefore spiritual calamity confronting our forebears. We have to ask ourselves who and what led to these traumas, the rotting of the sacred trees of knowledge, the destruction of the ati, a great tree that is our protector, of our racine, the roots themselves, our lineage. The drying out of the pools of water, our reservoirs of memory and initiations, the places that we go to heal and be healed. Who caused that? And within the Quidah, the culprits are told, we understand they come from without us, but they also come from within. And there's a line that says, Dahomey d'accord. Dahomey d'accord isn't just a reference to Dahomey, but it is the idea of that there is an enemy within us who wittingly or unwillingly comes to undo us. That it isn't just our enemies who defeat us, but that we sometimes betray ourselves. And I know one of our speakers will speak to acts of betrayal later. I want to close with the powerful words of the Quidah sung at the Bodoun's. It is a melody that inspires reflection on the nature of our legacy and how our moonness is honored, respected, and cherished by those who loved us. And as surely as the meteors fell across the glistening sky and the bassin bleu infused with herbs and the residue of blood tamed dusty crossroads, these words were among the parting ones, filling the hearts and minds of our people as they set off to change the course of history on this day so many moons ago. I invite you to unmute yourselves and to sing with me. Wango wale, kilewa vini wemako wale. Wango wale, kilewa vini wemako wale. Kilewa vini wemako, rien changé. Kilewa vini wemako wale. I thank you for your indulgence. Aibobo.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your beauty, for the beauty of your presentation, and for your inspiration.
Thank you, Doctor.
Both of you. And thank you for warming our hearts. Thank you.
Yes,
And Leslie too. Balan Gobert. The screen is yours, my dear.
Thank you very much. It was wonderful to hear His Majesty and the Royal Majesty and the Daagbo. Thank you. I wish to extend my deepest gratitude to the International Center for Multi-Generational Legacies of Trauma for organizing the commemoration of this 1791 Bwa Kayiman Vodou ceremony, an event of monumental significance in the history of humanity. The ceremony took place on that fateful August night. The ceremony that took place on that fateful night did not merely mark the beginning of self-liberation of enslaved Africans in Haiti. It set in motion a revolutionary tide that would forever alter the course of world history. The Bwa Kayiman Vodou ceremony, led by the spiritual figures Boukman Douti and Cecile Fatima, was much more than a religious gathering. It was a powerful assertion of the enslaved Africans' agency, a spiritual and political declaration of their refusal to accept any longer the dehumanizing conditions of enslavement. This noble act of defiance laid the foundation for what would become the Haitian Revolution, a struggle that culminated in the only successful slave revolt in history, leading to the declaration of the birth of Haiti as a free and independent state on January 1st, 1804. In commemorating this event, we recognize not only the bravery and resilience of those who participated in the ceremony, but also the profound impact of their actions on the broader fight against oppression and colonialism. The Bwa Kayiman ceremony symbolizes the unbreakable spirit of a people determined to reclaim their dignity, their humanity, freedom. It serves as a reminder of the powerful unity, faith, and resistance against seemingly unsurmountable odds. This commemoration by the International Center for Multi-Generational Legacy of Trauma is especially significant as it acknowledges the enduring impact of the Haitian Revolution on subsequent generations. The trauma endured by the enslaved Africans and their descendants is a legacy that continues to shape the Haitian experience and the global consciousness. By honoring the memory of Bwa Kayiman, we not only pay homage to our ancestors' courage, but also reaffirm our commitment to confronting and healing the legacy of trauma that persists to this day. Furthermore, this event invites us to reflect on the broader implication of the Bwa Kayiman ceremony for contemporary struggles for justice and liberation. It reminds us that the fight for freedom is ongoing and that the lessons of the past must guide our efforts to create a more just and equitable world. I am deeply honored to share the platform with such eminent and distinguished presenters and with all those who have taken the time or out of their busy schedule to be present here today. Your commitment to the exchange of ideas and to fostering a deeper understanding of our shared concerns is truly commendable. A special thanks, of course, must go to our moderator, Dr. Yael Danieli, for her vigilance, her commitment, and professionalism. As we gather here today, it is my hope that our discussions will be enlightening and engaging and will serve to further our understanding of Haiti and its people and strengthen the cause of transforming multi-generational trauma. Haitian Vodou is a profound and complex spiritual system. It is not merely a religion. It is a way of life that permeates every aspect of existence for those who observe its rites and customs. Rooted in an animistic and vitalistic conception of nature, Haitian Vodou is the living expression of a way of understanding life that integrates its spiritual, social, political, martial, and ethical dimensions. At its core, Vodou is a system of belief and practice that seeks to harmonize the individual with the forces of nature, the community, and the spiritual world. In this presentation, it is impossible to cover all the nuances and intricacies of Haitian Vodou. Yet, I hope to convey its significance as a living tradition that continues to shape the lives and identities of millions of Haitians, both within the country and in the diaspora. My aim is to provide a sketch.
Leslie, may I interrupt? The interpreters are asking that you slow down a bit. Okay.
Certainly.
Thank you so much. Okay.
I apologize. I'm getting carried away. So thank you very much. I normally don't read my presentation, but I wanted to do this, in fact, to facilitate translation, and yet I am messing it up. I apologize. My aim is to provide a sketch for further exploration and understanding, acknowledging that there is also always more to learn about this rich and dynamic tradition. I will briefly touch on Haitian Vodou as an ethical system, a philosophy of life, and a holistic approach to physical and mental health, demonstrating how Vodou serves as a transformative force in the lives of its practitioners. It should be borne in mind that Haitian Vodou is fundamentally an oral tradition whose teachings, rituals, and practices are transmitted from generation to generation through spoken words, songs, proverbs, and rituals rather than written texts. This oral nature of Vodou is not merely a method of transmission, but a core aspect of its identity, allowing it to remain a dynamic tradition that evolves with time while maintaining its roots in the ancestral wisdom of the Haitian people. In Vodou, knowledge is passed down through a process of apprenticeship where younger generations learn from elders who serve as custodians of the tradition. This apprenticeship is not limited to formal settings. It is an ongoing, immersive experience that begins in childhood and continues throughout life. Children are introduced to the stories of the Loi, the significance of rituals, and the meaning behind symbols and practices from an early age. They learn by observing ceremonies, participating in communal gatherings, and listening to the wisdom of elders. This gradual experiential learning process ensures that the knowledge is deeply ingrained and contextualized within the lived reality of the community. The role of Hungan and Mambo, priests and priestesses, is central to this apprenticeship. These spiritual leaders are not only religious figures, but also healers, counselors, and keepers of the community's collective memory. Their training is rigorous and extensive, often taking years of dedicated study and practice. The knowledge they acquire is not codified in books, but is learned through direct experience, mentorship, and spiritual insight. This knowledge is holistic, encompassing everything from herbal medicine to divination, from the art of ritual to the interpretation of dreams and symbols. Vodou oral tradition is inherently flexible and adaptive, allowing it to evolve in response to changing circumstances while preserving its core principles. This adaptability has been crucial to its survival, especially in the face of external pressures such as colonization, slavery, and the subsequent marginalization of African-based spiritual practices. Vodou has absorbed and integrated elements from other cultures and religions. Catholicism, while maintaining its identity, this syncretism is not diluted. It's not a dilution of Vodou, but a testament to its resilience and ability to adapt without losing its essence. The ongoing nature of Vodou apprenticeship also means that the tradition is never static. Each generation contributes to the evolution of Vodou, bringing new insights, interpretations, and practices. This dynamic process ensures that Vodou remains relevant to contemporary issues and needs while staying connected to its historical roots. The oral nature of Vodou allows it to respond to the specific cultural, social, and environmental context of the community that practices it, making it a living tradition that evolves alongside its people. However, the reliance of oral transmission also presents challenges, particularly in a world that increasingly values written documentation and formalized knowledge. The nuances and subtleties of Vodou embedded in its oral traditions are difficult to capture in writing without losing their essence. Furthermore, the diaspora experience with its displacement and disconnection from ancestral lands poses additional challenges to the continuity of Vodou's oral tradition. Yet, Vodou has proven resilient, adapting to new contexts and finding ways to preserve its oral culture, even in the diaspora. Without further delay, let me remind you that Haitian Vodou is a profound and complex spiritual system that emerged from the cultural crucible of colonialism and slavery. It is derived from the amalgamation of spiritual beliefs and practices of various African ethnic groups, most notably the Fon of Benin, the Yoruba, the Igbo, and the Congo. These groups, to name only these groups forcibly brought to the Caribbean as part of the Atlantic slave trade, carried with them their ancestral religions, which became the foundational elements of Haitian Vodou. The Fon of Benin contributed significantly to the pantheon of Vodou spirits, known as Loi, with deities such as Dambalawedo, Aidawedo, Loko Atisu, and Atidan Iboloko. The Yoruba influenced the structure of rituals and the organization of the priesthood, with their sophisticated spiritual practice and cosmology. The Igbo with their dances, and the Congo in their knowledge of plants, expressed through Makaya rituals in Haiti. They brought with them their distinct rituals and symbols, enriching Vodou diversity and depth. Haitian Vodou also incorporates shamanistic practices of the Taino people, the indigenous population of Haiti before the arrival of the Africans. The Tainos' deep connection to nature and their knowledge of use of plants for healing and spiritual purposes.
So, excuse me, for some reason, the English speakers hear the Haitian Creole. Is there any way to fix that? Yeah, maybe you're in the wrong channel. Okay, and Leslie, can you conclude, please, as soon as possible? Okay, go ahead.
Okay, well, I have to jump ahead, but anyway, let me say something about the Taino, at least acknowledge them because they were important. The Taino's deep connection to nature and their knowledge of and use of plants for healing and spiritual purposes were absorbed into Vodou, particularly in the practice of herbal medicine and the veneration of spirits associated with natural elements, in particular, Maître Grand Bois, the spirit of the forest and guardian of its deep secret. By the way, may I ask for an additional few minutes because I was interrupted twice? Catholicism, introduced through enforced conversion by European colonizers, also left a lasting imprint on Vodou. So the syncretism of Catholic saints and Vodoulois also allowed enslaved Africans to mask their traditional practices under the guise of Catholicism, thus preserving their spiritual heritage, navigating the oppressive conditions of slavery. I'm going to jump to some significant portion so I can satisfy the other people. Haitian Vodou is grounded in an animistic worldview which holds that the elements of nature, whether living beings, inanimate objects, and natural forces, as estimated by Her Majesty, are imbued with a vital spirit or energy. This vitalism is not merely a belief in the existence of spirits, but recognition of the interconnectedness of all life forms and in the intrinsic value of the natural world. The Loi or spirit of Vodou are not distant deities, but active participants in the lives of the faithful, embodying the energies of nature and the ancestors as well as their own metet, the core of one's identity, personality, and conscience. These spirits are invoked, honored, and appeased through rituals that maintain the balance between the material and the spiritual realm. I'm going to jump again significantly to talk about Vodou as an ethical system. At the heart of Vodou is an ethical system that provides a moral framework for living in harmony with oneself, with others, and the cosmos. The ethical teachings of Vodou emphasize respect for the ancestors, the loi, one's own loi, and the natural world. One of the central ethical principles of Vodou is the concept of balance or equilibrium. This principle governs the relationship between individuals, the community, and the spiritual forces. Maintaining balance requires a deep understanding of the reciprocal nature of these relationships and the responsibilities that come with them. When this balance is disturbed, whether through moral transgressions, social injustice, or environmental degradation, it is the role of the Vodou practitioner to restore harmony through ritual offerings and ethical behavior. Vodou also functions as a holistic health system that addresses both physical and mental well-being of individuals and community. Unlike modern Western medicine, which often focuses on treating the symptoms of illness, Vodou seeks to cure the root causes of disease, which are often understood to be spiritual and psychological in nature. This approach is deeply intertwined with the animistic and vitalistic beliefs in Vodou, where illness is seen as a disruption of the vital energies that sustain life. Herbal medicine is a cornerstone of Vodou healing practices. I'm going to jump again without and to begin a conclusion. Sorry about that. So significant portion of my talk that is truncated. For
maybe we can put your whole presentation on the website so people would not lose the original, the total richness of it. But you are over 20 minutes. So.
Oh, wow. Okay. Sorry about that. But you know, my voice carries my Vodou. So the piece of paper on the screen may not, but I'll do that. But anyway, for many practitioners, Haitian Vodou is a means of transforming the trauma of natal alienation, social exclusion, and dehumanization, experiences that are all too familiar in a society marked by the legacy of slavery, colonialism, and economic exploitation. Through its rituals, Vodou provides a space for individuals to process their suffering, seek guidance from the loi, and find strength and collective support in the community. I'm going to jump to the conclusion now, but sorry about that. That's extremely important. The Haitian Vodou offers a profound and intricate understanding of life, guiding its devotees from birth through the many stages of life until their final journey to the land of their ancestors. This spiritual journey is marked by the presence and influence of various lois, who oversees and guide different aspects of the devotee's life. The journey begins at birth, where the threshold of life is symbolically guarded by Atidon Atibon Legba, the loi of the crossroad, and Aizan Verekete, the mother of the marketplace and initiation. Legba is the first to be invoked in Vodou ceremonies, opening the gates between the physical world and the spiritual realm. He is the one who facilitated communication with the other loi ensuring that the newborn is welcome under the divine protection and guidance of the spiritual world. Aizan, as the consort of Blegba, provides a nurturing presence, ensuring that the child is born in a space of spiritual safety and wisdom. Her connection to the marketplace also signifies the child's entrance into a community where social bonds and exchanges are essential for growth. Finally, allow me to say a few words about Vodou's conception of life as a journey. I'll be brief and I'll jump. As a child grows, her journey through life is overseen by various lois who ensure their sustenance, protection, and well-being. The Balawedo and Aidawedo, the divine dyads, are often seen as the primordial ancestors symbolizing wisdom, continuity, and the sustenance of life. Their influence is subtle yet pervasive, providing the devotee with a sense of balance, harmony, and spiritual guidance throughout life. Azakamede, the Lord of Agriculture, plays a crucial role in ensuring the livelihood of the devotee. As the spirit of the earth and agriculture, Azaka is invoked to bless the land, ensuring that it remains fertile and productive. This connection to the land is not just about physical sustenance, but also about maintaining a deep, respectful relationship with the earth, which is central to Vodou worldview. For protection, the devotee turns to Ogu, the loi of iron, war, and courage. Ogu is a fierce protector, providing the strength and resilience needed to face life's challenges. His presence in the devotee's life is one of empowerment, imbuing them with the courage to fight for justice, defend their family, and maintain their community and maintain the dignity. I'm almost finished. The lost forests, represented by Maître Grand Bois and Maître Grand Chimay, are sources of medicine, healing, and spiritual refuge. Maître Grand Bois, the master, is deeply connected to the healing properties of plants, offering knowledge and protection to those who seek it. Maître Grand Chimay, as the master of the roads and pathways, ensures to the devotees remain on the right path, guiding them to the physical and spiritual journey. And finally, I'm getting to the end. At the end of life, the devotee embarks on their final journey back to the ancestral land, Guinea. This journey is overseen by Baron Samedi and the cohort of the Gede Loi, the guardian of the cemetery and the Loi of death. Baron Samedi, with his characteristic humor and wisdom, ensures that the tradition from life to death, the transitions, from life to death is handled with dignity and care. He welcomes the soul into the realm of the ancestors where they are united with their forebears and continue to exist in the spiritual realm. In Vodou, death is not seen as the end, but as a return to the source, to Guinea, the spiritual homeland. This cyclical view of life and death is central to Vodou, where the connection between the living and the dead is maintained through rituals, offerings, and ongoing communication. And really, finally, I beg your indulgence. The life journey in Haitian Vodou is a sacred path marked by the presence of various lois who guide, protect, and nurture the devotees from birth until they return to their ancestors. Each stage of life is accompanied by the influence of these spirits, these lois, ensuring that the devotee remains connected to that spiritual world, to their spiritual world, to their community, and to the earth. In this way, Vodou offers a holistic and deeply spiritual understanding of life, where every moment is imbued with meaning, and every journey is part of the sacred life, sacred cycle of life. And let me say one thing. I am convinced that Vodou is the gift of Africa to the world. Thank you for your indulgence and your patience.
Yes,
Thank you. Thank you. Thank
yes,
you.
yes.
Thank you for, you certainly have made me a devotee. Thank you for your passion. There were at least two requests from the audience that you put your that you put your presentation on the website. And in fact, I would invite His Majesty Daagbo and Her Royal Majesty Queen Mother. Also, if you have anything you would like to add on our website, that would be a great gift, because this would be a wonderful center within the center to teach, to inspire, to interest, and particularly, if I may, Your Royal Majesty, Queen Mother, your photographs are extraordinary. So would you please share those with us too? They're so inspiring. And Leslie, thanks for your passion. And we now go to Haiti, to Kenrick Demisvar, who patiently has waited. This is very exciting. Kenrick, the screen is yours.
Thank you, Yael. Good afternoon, everyone. Her Majesty the King, or Royal Majesty Queen Mother, respect for you. I would like to thank the organizer of this conference, in particular, Marlene, Lenny, Monette, Etienne, who invited me. My presentation was prepared in French. I'm trying to translate in English. And I'm so sorry. I was trying to share my screen as well, because I have a PowerPoint, but technical issue does not allow me to share my screen actually. My presentation this afternoon is going to be a re-lecture or rereading of the stories of the Bwa Kayiman ceremony. This ceremony is one of the founding religious and political assembly. It had its modes of artistic and religious appropriation. Through my presentation, I will try to analyze, even though I know I have less than 10 minutes, why Bwa Kayiman ceremony took place. I will try to conclude by presenting part of the result of an inventory of memory of slavery carried out in 9 municipalities in the northern department of Haiti. First of all, I will use ethno-history as a framework for reflection and as a didactic approach. However, I will also use the method of content analysis, which consists of a systematic or methodical examination of textual or visual document. As I said, I'm sorry, my presentation by PowerPoint is not allowing me to show the pictures that I wanted to discuss with you. However, I will mainly draw inspiration from the investigation around the historical sites of Bwa Kayiman, published follow on an investigation conducted under the direction of Rachel Beauvoir-Dominique, regretted for memory, and Eddie Lubin in 1999. This study seems to me to be the most complete synthesis to date to the history of Bwa Kayiman. From the context of the Bwa Kayiman, yes, Bwa Kayiman happened as a ceremony on the night of August 19, 1791. But prior of that, there's many events connected to that. We can remind, for example, on May 5th, 1789, in French, the King Louis XVI convoked the Estate General. So every colony has to send representation in France. On July 14, 1789, still in France, the citizen went to the Bastille fortress and they take control of that. That pushed the king the new King Louis XVI to organize constitutional assembly to carry out serious reform in their politics in France. That also had impact on the colonies Saint-Domingue, which what we're talking about. The decrees of March 4, 1780 was also promulgated to call the formation of colonial assembly. That's the context international world. But in Saint-Domingue, which was the colony, French colony, we have on March 25th, 1780 and April 15, 1780, the assembly was created in the north, the west, and the south, and they create what they call Assembly of Saint Mark, which is gonna have to lead by the right people, the colonial, the proprietors of the slaves in Saint-Domingue. And the National Assembly took place in French, and they sent representatives. There were no other people living in Saint-Domingue, which were the mulattoes, and as well as the black. They could not represent them. But France has another constitutional assembly, and they have a new decree who granted mulattoes equal political right with the rights people. But no one talk about the black people, which were mainly the poumon, the engine of the economical of Saint-Domingue. So now let's jump real quick in the ceremony of Bwa Kayiman, which happened on a Sunday, August 14, 1791. And it's a kind of gathering of slaves in Cap Haitian, Cap Français at this time, announcing the beginning and the end of the infernal regime of slavery established by Spain and reinforced by France and its colony in Saint-Domingue. This meeting is a founding meet of the Haitian independence. There are currently several stories about this gathering. While some historians believe it was a political gathering of mainly slaves, leaders, which and a few bell towers were present, commanders and domestic slaves participated. Other authors speaks about a religious ceremony, Vodou ceremony, which is where they say there's a pig was sacrificed and its blood was drunk by the participant. This is a myth. There's many versions of that. I'm not gonna have the time to explain each of them. I'll jump right away real quick on what this ceremony, why do we have different versions of this ceremony? According to Rachel Beauvoir-Dominique and Eddie Lubin, they repeat what Léo François Hoffman, another draconian opponent historian, and he says that this happened because the situation of Saint-Domingue need a revolt. And the uprising of the slaves was predicted. But he says the different version of the ceremony is made up by Dalmas, which is a doctor, a French doctor. He introduced the person of the young press in a ceremony. He explained different things, and later Civics de Gastin, a French abolitionist, is going to add more details about the story. Era Dimel, which is an Haitian historian, is going to add more emphasize on adaptation of Creole poem in the ceremony. And at the end, you find during the American occupation, Police Sano will represent the priest in the ceremony as bookman, and as well as a woman named which participated in this ceremony. So Victor's pressure as well add different version and opinion about the ceremony that create a confusion of what happened exactly. But other than that, you have an official ceremony that's happened in August 14, 1781, and all recognize that the leaders meet in Bwa Kayiman, in a place where they discuss about strategy, and they decide as well as the time they're gonna start the fight. Exactly, Cecile Fatima. Thank you, Mother Queen. I'm gonna jump all the way. What does Bwa Kayiman ceremony symbolize for Haitian today? It's a political meeting. That political meeting took place and led to the mobilization of leaders and plantations, bell towers, who decided to both on the strategy and as well as the time, the August 22nd and to the night of August 22nd and the night of August 29th, 1781, to start the revolution in Haiti. That's gonna lead to the proclamation of the independence on January 1st, 1804. The place called Bwa Kayiman in Montrouge is considered as a place of memory. It symbolizes the precursor place to the general uprising of slaves in Saint-Domingue. It is the reference to this ceremony, to this uprising on August 22nd and 29th, that UNESCO agreed to accept, to create the August 29 as the International Day for the Remembrance of Slavery and its abolition. Since 1989, the UN, the United Nations, has adopted the icon of the unknown world, the unknown Negro, which is the Negro in Haiti, as a postage stamp to illustrate the Article 4 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. In Haiti, this place has nevertheless been the subject of an appropriation by Haitians, different ways. The state has devoted a legal and political attention to this place. They decide an order on August 13, 1995, and they recognize the place as a public utility place. For Vaudouists, they've been to this place every year to celebrate, to have a mystical and symbolical high place, to have ceremony Vaudous. Moreover, there's a priest stay in this location, a Vaudou priest, and is the leader of this place. And as well as we find other Christians, Catholics, as well as Protestants, that come to say that this place is the place where Haitian had a pact with the devil, which will be at the base of the misfortunes of Haiti. That's an interpretation of Christians. The situation of Bwa Kayiman today, therefore, it's a place where you find a small-scale community lives there, already in the modes of urbanization and degrading the environment. The absence of basic institutional service is striking. A world project want to transform Bwa Kayiman into a natural park with a mountain, with captation has been proposed, including the cave. There's a cave there and the water course. And they even want to have a slavery museum there too. In any case, whether the ceremony is real or invented, beyond the division of class, religion, age, orders, the Bwa Kayiman event constitutes a founding myth that concerns all Haitians. It's the field. In the field of art, Bwa Kayiman is represented in painting and many musics, such as the famous music Bwa Kayiman, c'est là moi sorti, which means Bwa Kayiman, where I come from, or another popular Vodou song, nous prale Bwa Kayiman, papa moukman nou de assez, etc. To conclude, I want to say a few words about the inventory of memory of slaves in the North, led by a team of researchers from the UNESCO chair, that's I'm the titular, the UNESCO chair in history and heritage at the State University of Haiti. We carried out this inventory on memories and slavery in 9 municipalities in the northern part of Haiti. Launched in the summer of 2023, the inventory has so far identified 10 figures who mark the history of slavery and the slaves.
What happened?
Looks like his
As
connection.
As the slave trade in Haiti and contribute to its abolition. We find like Cassie, Henry, Padre Jean-Marc Kendall, Bookman, Cécile Fatima, Toussaint Louverture, Félicité Santona, Jean-Jacques Dessalines as well. We find more than 60 sites in place of history and memory and slavery, including a slave market, a slave cemetery, as well as the Bwa Kayiman. But based on the database that we collected, we create a file for the Bwa Kayiman, and then we prepare a documentation, submit that documentation to the UNESCO to add Bwa Kayiman in the list of sites of history and memories around the world for slavery. And UNESCO, I'm glad to announce that UNESCO accept this proposal, and let's wait for the official announcement which is supposed to be made today. Thank you for your attention. Have a good one.
Thank you very much, Kendrick, for your very informative, relevant, historic presentation. Last but not least, Leslie Wan. The floor is yours to put everything together.
Thank you very much. It's a real privilege to be on the same panel than Her Royal Majesty, Queen Mother, and also His Majesty, Daagbo. I have a very hard task because so much of what I wanted to say has already been said. But I'm going to probably concentrate on three things. The first is I want to say something about the notion of belief in Haitian Vodou among Vodouists, which is different than what we think of when we think about belief in the Western thinking. The second thing that I want to do is also to mention something about the way in which Vodouists see the world, how they understand it. And then in the end, I do want to say something about Bwa Kayiman itself, and particularly how that notion of Bwa Kayiman is represented specifically in art. And I'm going to be using, in that context, one particular painting that was done by an artist, a Haitian artist in Cap Haitien, Cape Haitian, up on the northern coast. And then to show you exactly the way in which the spirit of Bwa Kayiman has inspired many of the artists, and particularly this particular artist whose name is Émile Célestin, whom I met in Cap Haitien during my research. The concept of belief in Haiti is very different from the way in which Westerners think about belief. The English word belief suggests that it's an intellectual activity by which one may or may not choose to identify with a system of thought. Vodouists never think of believing in something in the sense of identifying with a system of thought, or by extension, with a community that affirms such a system. Spiritual reality cannot be the object of academic investigation, nor can it be an issue of casual scrutiny for skeptics. Vodouists have no room in their worldview for skepticism. They regard it as a consequence of an ambivalent attempt to establish rationally the design of the cycle of successive advance, to debate the relationship between their parts, and to question the divine hand in their purpose. Skepticism is the outcome of an improper or otherwise faulty apprehension of the universe. And it's also a faulty apprehension of what to Vodouists is self-evident, and that is that Bon Dieu, the Godhead, in Benin would be Maulisa, who is in fact the one who created the world and also who rules the world, and that he or she has in fact manifested himself or herself in and through the universe, and that this manifestation is essentially self-evident in that the world is sacred. And one cannot deny that because it is ruled by spirits that have permeated the entire world. In Haiti, and I think it's the same thing in Africa as well, if you ask a person who is religious and who's a practitioner of Vodou, if he believes in the loas or in the spirits, they don't say that they believe in the spirits. Haitians, and I think Africans would also say, Beninese people would also say that they don't, they serve the spirits, or that they obey the spirits of the world. The significance of their statement lies in their outlook on the nature of belief in general. For they do not think of religion in abstract terms, but in practical ones. And I think that has been also something that underlies what Leslie Ballin-Gobert was trying to say, and that there is something about Vodou that is in fact very practical. When Leslie was looking at the life cycle and the preservation, and I believe also His Majesty Daagbo also referred to that, referring to the notion that that life itself is being preserved by the loas and that other spirits, and that the spirits themselves are guiding people through their own lifetimes. So they don't think of religion in abstract terms, but rather in practical ones. Because the spirits are the fount of all wisdom and the cause of all life circumstances, the Vodouists effect the loas volitions merely by the living of life itself. Concurrently, they expect the loas to respond to their needs and to offer their assistance in practical matters of life. Vodouists cannot afford the self-surrender of mysticism, nor can they permit themselves the luxury of an idealism that seeks to mask the miseries and frustrations of their existence. Their needs are too immediate for that. Their religion must satisfy actual needs rather than merely invite them to high-flown intellectual exercises of theology. Maya Deren observes that they have neither the time nor the energy or the means of inconsequential activity. Religion is just something that's very practical. And in fact, one has to ask the question, when we speak of Vodou, to say, is it a religion? And I would tend to say it is not a religion, it's a way of life. That's what it is. And the fact of the matter is, one is not required to go to temple. You don't have to go to a home for. It's not going to church every Sunday, but rather it's a religion that's essentially practiced in the homes. And that's the important part of Vodou, in fact. So in Haiti, and probably in Benin as well, religion must be, or Vodou, must do more than give moral sustenance. It must do more than rationalize the Vodouists' instinct for survival, when survival sometimes is no longer a reasonable activity. It must do more than provide a reason for living. It must provide the means of living. It must serve the organism as well as the psyche. It must serve as a practical methodology, not an individual hope. In consequence, Haitians think of their religion or their way of life in working terms. And it is that kind of spirit that, in fact, one finds in the arts in Vodou. So I'm going to ask Dr. Danieli, would you please put up the painting that I had submitted earlier? There you go. This is a painting from an artist who from the northern part of Haiti. And it's a very interesting painting. We have in our institution, our university, probably the largest collection of Haitian paintings. It's part of the Graham collection of paintings. And the Graham collection actually came from a woman whom I knew, Edith Graham, who lived here in Connecticut, just not far from where I am. In the southern part of the state. And she fell in love with the Haitian art and collected a very large collection. When she died about 7 or 8 years ago, she had collected 323 pieces of art. And her children gave this to our university. So our university has now the largest collection of Haitian art in any university that I know of throughout the world. There are 323 pieces, and it includes not only paintings, but wooden pieces and all sorts of other things, a lot of ironwork as well. But anyway, let's go back to the painting for a minute. I find this painting rather interesting because, in fact, it reflects the spirit of Bwa Kayiman. For one thing, as you can see, you have the tree on the left side, and then a tree has very long roots. And I suspect that the way to interpret this is that the roots go all the way down to the soil and also to the origin of the religion, which is Benin, or which is Africa at itself. And it is from Africa that the tree grows. And the Vodou itself also emerges in this sense from Africa as well. And to me, the tree represents just that. The leaves themselves represent the different parts of the system of thought in Vodou, and also different ways in which it's practiced or it's carried in people's lives. You can look at the leaves themselves, you see that they have different shapes. Some are longer than others, and it means that the intensity and the kind of belief that one has is going to be quite different. One thing that I found also interesting in the tree that's in the middle, oh, I forgot, if you look at the wall on the left, you can see that the roots of another tree, which appears to be invisible, but the roots of the tree are piercing through this wall. And I would suspect that symbolically, I think one can say that what we're looking at here is that it's the force and the power of belief, or the power of the spirits that in fact come through in the people's lives. The gates that you're looking at are actually the gates of Milo, which is a very historical area in north of Haiti, and they date back to the time of the colony. So these are the actual gates that lead to the castle, which, by the way, unfortunately was set on fire just about a couple of years ago. But in the middle of is the root, is a tree, and you have Dambala, Wida, Dambala on the water, and the tree grows out of the pool of water and grows from there. And one of the things about Vodou, and also, by the way, of Christianity as well, at least in the Hebrew Bible, the notion of the serpent is that the serpent sheds its skin, and every time it sheds its skin, it's a new generation that has gone by, that has passed. And so that's what you find here, but you find the roots itself, which represents what Leslie Gobert was thinking about when he was talking about the ancestors, the world of ancestors. And this world of ancestors is maintained in a sense by the rejuvenation, you might say, of every generation as the serpent itself sheds its own skin. And in the back of that, and of course to the left, to the right of that, you have the various offerings that are offered to the spirit of Dambala, to the left. But you also have the priest dressed in red, also conducting a ceremony. And in the back, you have some Vodouists who are there singing. Probably the woman in the blue is dancing, it looks, and then you have the drums out in the back. But I find this painting very interesting because it represents, in effect, the spirit, I think, of Bwa Kayiman. The fact that Bwa Kayiman is a ceremony. We're not sure historically exactly what happened at the ceremony, although history has said that there was a pig and that it was somebody, there was a dance and the pig was sacrificed and so on. We're not sure that that actually happened the way in which it happened. But it doesn't matter anyway, because what really happens is that the spirit of what happened was an event that was in fact not only influenced Haitian art, as it were, the dances, and had a tremendous impact on people's lives and the history of the country. But that what happened there, in fact, is the continuation of the spirit of religion in Benin and in Africa that continued on to exist and to live within the lives of people in Haiti. Leslie Gobert also talked about the fact that Haiti is very, Vodou is very malleable, and it has as its nature a way of being able to transform and absorb a lot of other religious traditions. And it has in the past done so. And I think that's also true in Vodoun in Benin. When the Roman Catholic missionaries came to Haiti, they tried to convert slaves to Christianity. And one of the extraordinary things that happened, creative things, is that a lot of religious beliefs in Roman Catholicism were included within Vodou. In my own research, I found very interesting in looking at the veves, particularly, that you find symbols coming from other places. One in particular is that I found, in fact, symbols from masonry, from the Masons. I found itself in the veves as well. Some of you who've seen this know, for example, the A, and there are two things that come together that way. You've probably seen that in the veves. Those of you who've seen veves know what I'm talking about. You have a thing on the top. I don't know what it's called. It's like a compass, that you find in the veves. The veves are symbolic images that are drawn on the ground. You also have, interestingly enough, as Leslie Gobert was saying as well, the Taino Carib influence as well, one of which is one of the spirits in Haitian Vodou, and that's Azaka. Zaka, in fact, is among the Tainos the spirit of corn, maize. And that's where the word maize comes from. It comes the word Zaka and Azaka. And you find that, in fact, also within the spirits. So it would mean simply that what has happened in Haiti is that not only does the spirit of Africa, of Benin, continues to exist in Vodou, but you also have Vodou's or Haitians' creativity in being able to absorb religious traditions from other places as well. So I'm going to end with that and then allow some time for some discussion.
Thank you very much, Leslie. One, Leslie two. We have a group full of Leslies. And thank you very much for connecting, first of all, for literally focusing everything we spoke about into that image, which is a beautiful image. Let me also remind the Jewish people in the audience that the snake was there in the Old Testament already, just at the beginning. So, so we are all connecting, not only in the knowledge. His Majesty was talking about what voodoo is not, and the rest of you spoke about what voodoo is, and you're focusing it how voodoo is related to other systems of thought and beliefs. So this is an amazing, rich webinar. I was wondering, we promised that after the presentations, we will have a dialogue among the members of the panel, but I know that Her Majesty, Her Royal Majesty has to leave in 5 minutes. So I would like you to let me give the floor to you first. How about if everybody unmutes, because now it's the time for dialogue. Please, you're all welcome to unmute yourselves, and please, Your Royal Majesty, you start first, so that we don't miss the very few minutes with you. Go ahead.
Well, thank you. I'm just going to give thanks for this rich exchange that we've had. You know, some of us, like myself, have been operating in this space for a very, very long time, and it's sometimes a space that feels we know it's spiritually we're filled, that we're poured into, but we don't always have the opportunity to have an exchange. That there are priests and historians and other scholars are here, is the sort of discourse, the kind of exchange we need to have. I also argue that, well, I have to give thanks for the remarks that were made by Professor Balain Gobert, about which recognized the tremendous amount of work and really the intellectual depth that one has to submerge oneself in, master, and reinterpret into in concrete action that voodoo priests have to have. You know, there are divisions in our societies which have always put down voodooisans as if, oh, they're ignorant, illiterate peasants, that sort of thing. And then on the other hand, voodooisans, working class people, especially in the diaspora, who feel, oh, you're too much of an intellectual, you can't be amongst us as a priest. But in fact, we are all producers of cultural thought, of profound knowledge. We're all the guardians of these various knowledges, sacred and profane, that our ancestors have provided us. So it's wonderful, and I think it's important that we continue to have this kind of exchange. I refer to a call and response in terms of the Puya Jo, the Puya Guinea, but that concept, that process of exchanging ideas and information, recognizing the power and the validity of memory and its manifestation through spoken word, it has to be in dialogue with what is written as well. So there needs to be greater collaboration to make things more precise and more clear. Having said that, I will also say that there are things that we're that we will never say, things that will always remain unknown, unclear, ambiguous, because of the subaltern existence that we've been forced to have as priests and practitioners, particularly in the diaspora, and because there is a couvent, a vow of secrecy, initiatory processes that we've taken that doesn't allow us to freely share certain information. So certain things will always remain ambiguous. If you want to know, you become immersed into that space, fully, completely committed to it, and you know what you know. If you don't know, Spirit will reveal what you need to in due time, if it's for you. So again, thank you so very much for this invitation and this opportunity, and I look forward to sending material to all of you and continue this work. Vodou has to be included in the space of exchange of thought, of action in terms of a human rights movement and helping our greater communities to heal.
Absolutely, and
Thank
that is part of what the working group is exactly about.
Yes.
So we welcome you into the working group. I really welcome your insight of the importance of respect for ambiguity. Too many people want to know everything exactly and quickly and never learn. So thank you for this very mature notion. I wanted to challenge you in particular, if you have a moment still.
Yes.
How is the gender perspective within Vodou? Is there a particularly gender perspective in Vodou? Is that even the right question to ask?
Well,
so if you have a minute, okay.
I do.
We can have another webinar on that.
And we should. Vodou has always respected the role of male and female energies. It is evident in the existence of the Loi. We have Dambala Widow and Aida Widow, Legba and Aiza. There is this complementary pairing that takes place. In terms of praxis itself, having been a part of Vodou in practice, Vodou Hedo and Vodou from Haiti, things are much more stratified in Benin, in Dahomey, whereas for a variety of reasons, social organization, enslavement, etc. Vodou in Haiti is much more fluid space. We've had to federate our energies, the roles that we play, and who assumes what position. I find that there are shifts that take place within the diaspora itself, where it has been my impression that while we have a much more egalitarian space of men and women assuming roles of authority in Haiti, the role of power seems to be more in the hands of men in the diaspora. In Benin, I've observed that there are many women involved in all aspects of tradition, of practice, but at the very helm, the summit is almost invariably male. But I think that's a reflection of other things, and that is shifting too.
That is even true in the current interim government of Haiti. It's all men.
Yeah.
That is part of why I'm asking about the respect. I don't even talk about respect, just simply the recognition of the contribution of women.
May I say something? Let me say something about that. You know,
Please.
some of the most powerful priestesses or mambos in Haitian Vodou are women.
Yes.
and in Haiti at least. I mean, Her Royal Majesty, I know that you said that here in the US is mostly men. I think you're right. But in Haiti, women have tremendous power. In fact, the women are compared to the Potomitan.
Yes.
For example, you know, in the Vodou temple, for those of you who may not know, there is in the middle of where the ceremony is performed, there is a post, or there is a mark or something that is there in the middle, and that of the ceremony, and that's the center of the earth. That's what we refer to often as the axis mundi. And it's around that post that people perform the ceremony. They dance, they eat, they do whatever needs to be done. But that post is a center post that is a communication between the sacred and the secular. And when the spirits come, they have to come through that post. And at that post, therefore, is really the center of the earth. It is the center that gives birth to spirit possession, that it is from there, that point, that everything that happens in the ceremony occurs. And that's exactly what the role of the woman is, because she is, in fact, the center of the family, the center of life itself, and the ones who generates life, because she gives birth in that sense. And that's why in Haitian Vodou, we often don't think about that, but the woman is a potomitan. She's at center pole. She's the axis mundi. She's the center of the world. She's the center of society, of the community itself, because she is the one who ensures the community. The second thing that I wanted to say, and I'm going to stop, you know, you mentioned, Dr. Daniele, you mentioned earlier, that's also true, you know, in Judaism and Christianity, where you have the serpent in the Garden of Eden. But the fact of the matter, it's an interesting notion, actually, because the serpent sheds its skin. And if you remember in the story, it is Eve who comes in contact with the serpent and not Adam. And
That's right.
primarily because it is the woman who is involved as a potomitan, as it were, the one who is really giving birth. And she's participating directly in the creation and procreation and the passing of generation. And to that extent,
and in the passage of knowledge,
yes,
that
correct.
too was speaking so much about.
Correct. So that's what I was going to say. So in a
Right.
sense, she's really the one responsible for passing that traditional ancestral knowledge to other generations. So it's very important person.
If I may, you just say that, again, I've been to one Vodou ceremony, I've been to 1,000, particularly in Benin. There's no potomitan there, okay?
Yes.
There's no potomitan. And while we do say that the woman is potomitan, we do say it is the woman who sits behind the throne, that we have a certain amount of power within the trope of spiritual practice that is not reflected in social action. Okay, there's a discrepancy there. And so for me, if we're going to have a conversation about gender, and I think that we do need to have this conversation at some point, we have to look at the disparity between what we say, what we claim to believe in, what we do, what we claim in theory, and its lack of manifestation in praxis, the lack of practical application of those principles that we claim to uphold.
Perfect.
Well taken. Well taken.
So you're definitely going to participate in our webinar on that specific issue, the gap between the depth of the belief in the commitment and the deity and the simple, practical, socio-political functioning.
Yes.
I'm wondering if His Highness Daagbo wants to also add to this notion, and then everyone else, please. Let's lead to Kenrick Jules, does His Highness want to add to this aspect of the conversation? You're frozen.
Yeah.
I'm afraid. No, you're not frozen now.
Well, they're muted.
Oh, you're muted. That's the point. Okay, sorry. Thank you.
Gilles, can you unmute?
Jules, please unmute.
Yes. Is there a question to Daagbo? Please, we lose your voice. Can you repeat the question?
Sure. I was asking whether Daagbo, His Majesty Daagbo, wants to add anything to this gender issue.
Okay.
Briefly, of course, briefly.
This discussion is a very, very good discussion. We are very happy. It showed the commitment of being together in Vodou. What I have heard here from you in the Vodou way, that is true. That is truth. In the Vodou, there are many levels from the beginning to the top. And you cannot get the knowledge in Vodou in a while. It needs some time and it has some traits. The women also are very high and special place in Vodou religion. When the spirit, Vodou spirit come to the person, the women are the one who welcome the spirit and communicate. In Vodou religion, the women are human beings that we have to venerate. Even the Ougan, when the Ougan want to come from the temple to outside, that is the women who do the ceremony, even for the Ougan, the priest. Okay, even for the women, when they are young, it's come in the life period. That's in the time you may understand that's in that period they cannot approach the Vodou altar. I'm very happy for this webinar that you organized, and I thank all the organizers. We are giving our benediction to this group, to this webinar, that this webinar will go forward. So we can just, we continue of getting together to know more knowledge, because there's still many knowledge that we have to share among us.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Goodbye, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Queen Mother.
Queen Mother, I just wanted to say thank you very much. I kept some very fond memories of you, and also very fond memories of the time that we did the program together in New York. So it's good to see you again. Very good.
And the pleasure is equally mine. Bye-bye.
And Leslie too.
Queen Mother,
Oui.
I think we meet, I think 2 years ago, to
Oui.
talk about your books that we need to translate. So,
Oui. Oui. No, oui. I remember now. Wait. Okay.
And we want to have all your books and articles in our library too.
okay, now
We'll work on that. Thank you. Bye-bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye-bye, dear. I was just wondering if the two Leslies and Kenrick would like to add or.
Yeah, I'd like to add something actually. There is a saying in Haiti. Sel pa jam vante tête dil salé. Salt does not boast of its saltiness. Similarly, power does not boast of its power. In Haitian Vodou and in Vodou in particular, in any, women are incontestably strong and the pillar. In fact, although Vodou is matrilineal and paternal and maternal, it is the matrilineal line that matters. When one is ill, one is encouraged to go to where your mother hails, where she's from. Because a very principle is this: you can never not be your mother's child, whereas you may not be your father's child.
Right.
So the mother is incontestably the one. Not only that, in fact, in Haiti, we do very rarely, and in fact, more often than not, we say, Bon Dieu, maman, God, my mother.
Mhm.
And in the pantheon of the Vodou gods, we have the grandmothers, Grand Alumanja, Grand Sivilibo Vavoun, Grand Ezuli. They come first. And as Leslie one correctly suggests, that is to say that the place of the woman, and of course symbolic representation, the potomitan, whether it exists in Benin is out, it's beside the point. It is a symbolic representation of an axis mundi, the axis on the which, and also as women is what gives birth, the woman is closer to what is the engendering of life, engender of life, which is the divine mother. You see, Aizanveleke represents the earth, the divine mother. Maulisha, or the interrelationship, intricate relationship between male and female. Dambalawedo, Aidawedo. There is no separation between the two. They are intricately related.
Right.
As women are the power, there is no need for a woman to boast of its power. Even though the woman may not be present in everyday politics, but the woman's presence is there. It is always there. It is incontestable, incontournable. What's the incontournable word? I don't know in English. Very powerful. So, as the question is interesting in a very interesting modernistic way, in the African and Haitian way, the representation of the mother, the umbilical cord that separates, that connects, the mother and child is incontestable. In fact, let me finish with this. The image of God that any human being has is the mother that bore them.
And that certainly, I think, is true in Benin, Maulisa, right? And Mau has a very incontestably more importance than Lisa. Am I right?
In fact, in Haiti, we get the Mau. For example, when people say Maule or Mauvi, the children of Mau, which is represented in the song by Carol Nemesme, Maule, because Mau is always there, the protective mother that looks at for his children. You see what I mean? Right. Even in the mythology of Vodoun in Dahomey and elsewhere, the woman protecting the child who has the painter's la panthère, the painter's griffe, I don't know how you say griffe, on her face, which is symbolically represented by Ezuli Danton and Ezuli Jean Rouge. So in a sense, you see, while it is an interesting question, it is a very important question, it is one that is often missed. The woman's, as I said, as salt does not boast of its saltiness, power need not boast of its power. Woman is absolutely powerful.
That's right.
I wonder, Dr. Demesvar, whether you would
His
like
Majesty
to
said that
add?
Leslie William say truth, the truth. That is true. What you say. Segbolisa, that is true. Yes, that is true.
Je vous remercie, Sa Majesté.
Que la femme, c'est un être respecté.
Absolument.
The woman is a responsible human being. When you respect a woman, so you will be happy in your life.
Et tous les esprits de la nature sont des esprits femelles. La mer, les montagnes, et ainsi de suite. Merci.
La terre, elle est femelle. Sakwata est femelle aussi.
Et même la pluie qui est l'eau qui fait pousser les choses, hein? C'est aussi femelle. Hein? La pluie, c'est important.
L'eau, c'est féminin. The male is always with the female, and the female is powerful in Vodoun. If you want to go to Vodoun, you have to ask the permission through the female, the wife, before getting to the male.
Mm-hmm. I see that I opened up a whole big, wonderful discussion, which we have to continue. I'm just wondering if I don't want to lose anything of the meat of this webinar in the conclusion. So I promise the audience and you that each one of you will have last word in terms of today's webinar. How about if you take a second to think about it and share it with yourself and with all of us. Go ahead, and we can, of course, start with His Majesty Daagbo.
Yes. We pray, we praise our mother, the Queen Mothers, and we give you benediction. And everybody will have peace. You have a good health, and you have long life. And soon we will be meeting each other.
Thank you very much, Mercy. Leslie, one?
Well, I've really enjoyed this exchange. I have to say that I've learned a great deal from everyone, and I took some copious notes. There are so many things that I was not aware of that certainly I think were mentioned in our exchange. And I was in Benin, and I went to Quidah. I spent some time in Quidah, but that was a long time ago. And I kept very, very fond memories of the time that I was there at the temple in Quidah. So, but I wanted to say that we often sometimes miss the point that both nations are really tied in together, not only culturally, but also even to some extent linguistically. Because I discovered that even in Haitian Creole, in the language, there are some words that I discovered in Fon that are the same words in Haitian Creole. A good example is the word bagay. And I remember asking someone, which means thing, but I remember asking someone who was my informant. The person was telling me a lot about Vodoun in Benin. What does bagay mean? And she said it meant thing. And the word is also the same word that's used in Haitian Creole. So there was some intricately connections culturally and also religiously between the people. The intonation of Fon and the intonation of Haitian Creole is so much the same. And sometimes when I was in Benin, I had to look around me to see that the environment was different, because I thought of myself as being in Haiti when I looked around me and when I heard the people speak and when I met the people there, the Beninese people there. So, but one of the things I wanted to say also is whether in fact we can argue about where Bwa Kayiman took place. It doesn't matter. So UNESCO can say, well, it's here. Somebody else would say, no, it's over there. Who cares? What's important in the Bwa Kayiman is the spirit of what it communicates. And I think we've discussed that very well today. And I hope that the spirit will remain alive and that we will also always remember that that spirit is rooted, its origin was in Africa. And it is spirit of freedom and the spirit of liberation actually came and is the source of it was in Africa. And that's what inspired the people in the revolution, the Haitian Revolution.
Thank you. And Leslie, too, would you like to share with us your last words, even though we will continue?
It was a great honor for me to participate, really. And I'm particularly pleased to have shared the panel with such distinguished guests and to also see the Daagbo and the Queen Mother, and of course, my Tokai, or whose Tokai I am, Leslie Demangle. And of course, you, Dr. Danieli. Thank you very much. And of course, Kendrick, je vous remercie de tout mon cœur. Thank you very much.
Kendrick, would you give us your last word? Kendrick,
Eric,
we're going to be the last word. Are you there?
Yes, sorry for that. I had to wait all the way to go pick up my son at school. He was staying by himself. I'm so sorry for that. I would say thank you everyone. I was glad as well to participate in this panel and with such great presenters, and it was a pleasure. And I want to say as a last word that Bwa Kayiman is still a site of memory for every Haitian, but not only Haitian, but all Black people around the world. It's represented the one of the place that all Black people should come for pilgrim. This is a site that connected Haiti to Africa directly, as one of the ceremony they do on La Cour Souvenance in the Gonaïve. They say when you do what they do, turning around a tree, it's like they're coming back to Africa. So Haitian with this ceremony was trying to connect it with Africa, getting the spirit of African spirit to fight against slavery. And that's why now we are free and we give the same light to other people to get free as well. We even support other people to become free, other people around the world to become free. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for these wise words. Please stay with our working group as all of you are invited. Please remember to send us any related publications to the library. All of you are invited to future webinars. You asked several times whether the recording is provided. Absolutely, anyone who registers to our webinar automatically receives the recording. And then on the website, we will have the recording both in English and in Haitian Creole. And whatever French got into the conversation. Thank you. This was so enriching. I think I will listen to this over and over again. Leslie, too, don't forget to send your presentation. Please, people ask for it. So we'll see you soon in the working group. And Your Majesty, I hope I send you our love and blessings and deep gratitude.